Hey there, friends. Something I want to talk about is showing all or most parts of yourself. Uh, I love the internet. I really, 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 really love the internet, and I love playing on the internet. And it's one of the things that brings me the most joy in my life. And I've thought a lot about how to relate to the internet for a long time. When I was a kid, I made Neopets played Neopets and made things with their website generator. And then I got really into GeoCities and made websites with that. And then I had a podcast as a kid very early on. And, I made websites for different projects that I was connected to in high school and college and did some web design work and stuff. And yeah, I got on Twitter in 2007 and have been on there for a long time. And I've been on other platforms as well, like YouTube here. And I've thought a lot about how I want to participate and how I want to play and how I want to show myself. And, I built my website in iterations, and my website's sort of my home on the internet. I think of it as like my home that people can come to and visit. And, the way that I think about the internet and participating in it and the way that I relate to it has evolved over time, and it's iterative, and I'm always exploring and always trying new things. I'm sure that in a year or 5 or 10, I'll think about it differently. But something that's been really important to me, especially in the last 4 or 5, 6 years, is to try to show all the parts of myself. So on the surface, right, I am spreading love and kindness and doing loving kindness meditation. And I try very hard to embody kindness in my actions and to be a good person and to show that and to demonstrate that I'm trustworthy and people can trust me. And it's interesting. I feel like that both broadens who I can be connected to, in that, people generally, not always, definitely exceptions, but generally like see me over time on Twitter or something and are like, okay, he seems all right. He's not mean or cruel and means well. Okay, I can trust that. And then it also sort of limits how much exposure I might get, because I'm not having these crazy mean takes that go viral or something like that. I feel like a lot of snark or cruelty spreads more quickly, or a lot of like biting cultural takes or something. Those tend to spread pretty quickly. But I'm okay with that. It's long games. It's like, yeah, I want to slowly, gradually build who I'm connected to and how, in a way that's in integrity to me and is matching my values. And part of that is showing all the different parts of myself. So yes, I do work really hard to be kind and to be sweet and to act in ethical ways. And there's other parts of me, like I get annoyed a lot of the time, or I'm really sad a lot. I've been really sad for a lot of my life, or scared of different things, or, there's really silly parts of me, or certainly like sexual parts of me that love connecting sexually with people, or romantic parts of me. And from a parts work perspective, like IFS, internal family systems, and all that, like I've done a lot of work with those modalities to connect different parts of myself and learn who they are and what they feel and what they need and what they want and what their challenges are. And that's part of, unification of mind, of like integration of soul. To the extent that I am an integrated whole person, it's because I've connected to these different parts of myself and found alignment within myself so that those parts can work together and go in one direction together rather than working against each other. Of course, there's always more work to do, and, I'm sure there's ways in which I'm not integrated, but I do feel like there's a lot of alignment and integration and harmonization in my system and in who I am because I've done that work. And I want to reveal that to the world. I want to show that to the world. I want to hint at that to the world. I may not let those different parts steer all the time or put them in charge, but I want to show to people that those parts are there. And for example, I have a part I call my dark part that is distrusting of people and is the one that is aware of how people have hurt me, and is the one that kind of has discernment and is like, well, can you really trust this person? Or, he's the one that remembers that we're all going to die and that there's aging and sickness and death. And he's the most honest and blunt and straightforward part of me. Like there's a lot of like idealistic, naive, romantic, optimistic parts of me. And he's just on the level. In fact, if he says something, usually I can really trust it. But then the way that he says it is often incredibly blunt, and like he'll swear or just say, it's almost like mean. And so it's not always kind to have a one-to-one translation of what he's saying, because it could be hurtful to someone. But it's honest and it's true, and it's worth hearing his reality. And there are a lot of people who have suffered in this world. In fact, all of us have suffered in different ways. And the more we've suffered, the more it's easy to distrust someone who is like, love and light, everything's fine, all is going to be well. And I am an optimist, and I do believe in the power of love and the power of kindness, and I try to embody that myself, but in a realistic way. And it's important to me to show people, hey, I have this dark part too, and to signal that, like, just so you know, this is part of me too, and I have parts of me that have been hurt and that are distrustful of other people, and have discernment. I'm not just naively optimistic. I'm discerningly optimistic, and I steer towards positive outcomes using discernment. And so occasionally having a tweet or some art from my dark part that still feels in alignment with the whole system and with my values and my ethics can signal to the right people, like, hey, just so you know, I have this darkness in me too. Or same with sexuality, or just melancholy, or silliness. I want to show all of those parts of me and signal that they're there, so that people who have those parts of them also can relate to me. I think if I just showed the wise and loving, kind parts of me without showing the dark part, or the melancholy, sadness, and anxiety, or without showing playfulness and silliness, without showing sexuality, I don't know, I'm probably missing some parts. Just also anger, annoyance. Like I get frustrated and annoyed at people all the time. That's like meaningfully different than just the dark part, I'd say, although connected to it. If I don't show those things, then it's going to be stilted and saccharine and one-sided and like not believable. It'll be like, okay, love and light, whatever, but like, you're not a real person, man. You're a fortune cookie. And yeah, I do want to bring out love and light and wisdom into the world and share that with people, but not to the exclusion of those other parts, which all have wisdom and clarity and are also relatable, because people have those parts of themselves. So to the extent that I'm aware of a part of myself, which I'm sure there are parts I'm not aware of, I'm sure there's blind spots and missing, unintegrated stuff, but to the extent that I am aware of a part, I want to show that to the world in a skillful way that's, I do have whole system alignment with. So it's, with these different parts, it's taken thought and care to figure out how to show that, but what's a skillful way to show that? But I want to bring all of those parts into the world and show all of those parts through my art and my projects and my creativity, and not suppress them or punish them for being there, but really include them and make them a part of the larger whole. And one, it makes it just so much more satisfying for me to have my whole system, to the extent that I can, on board with what I'm doing and involved and integrated. It's enlivening, and it makes it so that I'm not having inner conflict about what I'm doing. I have whole system alignment. And then I really do feel like it makes the art or projects or wisdom that I'm sharing, whatever it is, much more relatable, where it's like, oh, you can see this is a real person. Like, just to name a really silly example, I don't think I've talked about this before, but like, my beard is a little scruffy, and like, I don't really trim it that well perfectly. It's not a priority for me. And I like to show that because it's like, okay, whatever wise thing I say or whatever eloquent thing I say, I'm very good at speaking and I can speak very confidently as I'm doing now. It's like, I want to signal like, hey, don't take me too seriously. Like, I really don't have all my shit together and it's a little messy. Actually, the real person is a little messy. My life is not perfect. I don't have everything figured out. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I want you to know that. Like, don't take what I say too seriously. If something feels off to you or not quite right for your life, then trust that over some guy on YouTube talking or some essay you read somewhere. Like, trust your own sense making over this scruffy, bearded homeless dude. Like, let's be real here. I am a real person with real feelings and real strengths, but also real weaknesses, real challenges. I've made mistakes in my life, things that I regret, and that's okay. Oops, sorry about that. Got cut off because of an alarm. It's okay that I'm a real person with flaws and strengths and all that, because that's true for all of us, right? And you know that about yourself from your own inner experience. You can see the beautiful things about yourself, and you can see the uneven, unpolished parts. You can see the challenges. You can see the obstacles right from the inside. But when you look at someone else from the outside, it can be easy. I know I've done this, like with my teacher in my 20s. I just thought he was perfect and couldn't do any wrong and like made no mistakes because he was very polished and he was very put together and he spoke authoritatively and he said such wise things that were immediately helpful to me, and my life was better because he was in my life. And so it was easy to think, oh, he's perfect and he's got it all figured out. But then over time I was like, oh, no, he's got challenges and blind spots like the rest of us. And that's a very natural process to go through, especially when you're relating to a mentor or a hero or a teacher, to like kind of idolize them for a while. And that allows you to really receive what they have to share more fully. But eventually you have to kind of grow out of that and be like, oh, they are their own person. And paradoxically, if you put a hero on a pedestal such that you see them as perfect, then you see yourself as imperfect. And that means you can never be a hero, because you can't be a great person because you are flawed and imperfect. And you know that undeniably from your first person experience. But once you grant your heroes and your mentors and your teachers permission to be imperfect, to be the whole people that they are, including their flaws and weaknesses and mistakes, then you give yourself permission to be great, to shine, to be incredible, to step into your fullness, even though you have weaknesses and will make mistakes and will do things you regret. You're like, here we go anyway. And that's really what it was like for me, is when I saw my teacher as perfect, it allowed me to receive his teachings. But as I started to see him as human, it allowed me to rise in my own estimation and be like, oh, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to hold myself to some fake standard. I can just be me as fully as I can, as best as I can, including the mistakes and the uneven bits. And so I love that for me. For me, being slightly scruffy and imperfect is an act of self-love. And to relate to others, it's also a signal, like, don't take me too seriously. Like, listen to what I have to say, but don't just buy it wholesale. So it's been important to me, both for myself in relation to myself and my own work and my own projects, but also for the world and for other people, to show all parts of myself and to reveal all parts of myself and be willing to share that, be willing to demonstrate that. And that's made it much more sustainable to create art and projects on the internet and to share them. It's made it much more authentic. And I believe it has a bigger impact because it's much more relatable. So that's why I aspire to share all parts of myself in a wholesome, skillful way. And I hope that this inspires you to do the same in your own way of relating to the internet and your work in your life. I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have. Feel free to share them in the comments. I'm sending you love.